Yeah, the PigLEARN training platform is an online platform that hosts training. Now, CPC or Canadian Pork Council has gone through and developed a whole bunch of training, 86 different training modules on a variety of priority topics for the pork industry. What they wanted to do is they wanted to develop a platform to be able to host all of that training and then allow for tracking of like an individual learner's progress through that training.
Welcome to the Swine Canada podcast show, brought to you by Wisenetics. We're dedicated to bringing you the latest insights and discussions in the Canadian pork industry. So I'm Miranda Smith and I'll be today's host for this episode. And today I have with me Mark Fynn, who most of you will probably know for his role with Manitoba Pork, but he also works part-time for Canadian Pork Council, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So welcome to the show, Mark.
Great. Yeah, thanks for having me, Miranda.
Before we get started on today's topic, Mark, can you introduce us a little bit to your background? Like, how did you end up in agriculture and doing what you're doing right now?
Yeah. I got started. I actually started in agriculture, like studying agriculture at the University of British Columbia. Actually, I grew up in Abbotsford. And so went to the University of British Columbia there and got introduced to agriculture there. And again, Abbotsford is a very agricultural area too. And so I'd been helping with farm chores with friends and stuff like that for a little while. But really kind of enjoyed the topics of animal care and actually the economics and stuff of animal care and stuff too. So came to Manitoba actually and got involved in a project at the University of Manitoba that introduced me really into the swine sector. My work before was actually more dairy related, but got into the swine sector in Manitoba. And then after I finished my master's, Manitoba Pork was looking for someone to work on animal care specifically, and so I joined them basically right away out of school there, and that was in 2010. So I've been with them almost 15 years now. Working on that side of things. And so I've been working on different animal care topics and whatnot. And so one of my first forays into the training side of things that I think got me going was the development of some pig handling videos that we did at Manitoba Pork. And that got me very interested in that topic and wanting to see what else could be done. And so as my job evolved and I got more involved with collaboration with Canadian Pork Council, that's kind of where we got into this idea of developing a training platform with a whole bunch of different topics covered. And so in 2019, I joined Canadian Pork Council as their training resources coordinator to lead this PigLEARN project.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the PigLEARN platform. So can you tell us a little bit about what it is?
Sure. Yeah, the PigLEARN training platform is an online platform that hosts training. Now, CPC or Canadian Pork Council has gone through and developed a whole bunch of training, 86 different training modules on a variety of priority topics for the pork industry. What they wanted to do is they wanted to develop a platform to be able to host all of that training and then allow for tracking of like an individual learner's progress through that training. And so we've kind of set it up so that companies can manage their own group of workers and deliver either the CPC training or their own training that they upload or a combination of both. And track the progress of those individuals. And then we've kind of created in a way so that those learners as well get rewarded for the training they've done through like certificates, competition on leaderboards and that sort of thing. So the main overview of it is that online training platform to track individual learning.
Okay, excellent. And so would you say that this is instead of training in the barn, or would it be on top of?
Oh no, it'd definitely be on top of like the training that we host on here. Like, I mean, we train, we host videos on here, and we allow you to host, say, like a protocol that's in a PDF format or something on here for your workers. But it's never going to replace hands-on training, but it does provide that sort of background or foundation prior to the hands-on training in a number of areas. But I mean, you could also in this training platform, you could also create, say, a module or a checkpoint or whatever in here to say, hey, I've trained this person doing the hands-on training, and then kind of mark them off as completing that. So it's really that tracking system to do that. And if you wanted to kind of create a learning pathway for a given task, say it's how to help a sow while she's farrowing or something like that. You might say, hey, do this learning module first, this online learning module first, then read our own protocol for the farm, and then do the hands-on training, and then verify later that you've done it. And so you can create sort of 4 different steps within that pathway within the system, and really track and ensure the workers have gone through that learning for that particular task.
So, can you tell me a little bit about why the Canadian Pork Council decided to develop this and how you developed this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this goes back 6 years now, I think, where we recognized that training was being done predominantly by the provincial pork organizations, but often there wasn't enough time, I guess, within the staff groups of the provincial pork organizations to make significant strides on training. The other thing that was happening was because it was being handled by the provinces, you could have multiple provinces working on the same sort of training development at the same time. Which wasn't a good use of producer levy dollars, potentially government grant dollars, and that sort of thing. And so we recognized that like a pig in Alberta is the same as a pig in Quebec, and so developing, like, really collaborating nationally and between provinces to develop best management practices and training. Was the best approach to this. So we went about getting a government grant to be able to really dedicate some time to this. And that's how I got pulled into Canadian Pork Council to do this in 2019. We kind of started off figuring out, hey, what is the training we want to develop collectively and collaboratively across the country. And so as far as the process goes, like, we set up a national committee that had representatives from a bunch of the provinces, and had a discussion about what are the priorities that of training we want to develop. And so some of the early stuff we developed were stuff like biosecurity, training modules, some stuff to do with fitness for transport. And so we identified those things early, and then for each one of those topics, so take biosecurity, what we do is we set up a smaller working group of experts from across the country, which was really nice about doing it collaboratively across the country. You could pull in the best people from across the country, and not just who was in your province, in a specific province. We pulled together that expert working group. We develop content outlines, develop scripts, develop the videos together, and have that expert panel kind of go through and review all that stuff, and then give the final stamp of approval. So we know we kind of have the best content we can have based on, like, the experts that were involved in the process. Now we've gone through and we've developed 10 different topic areas, each with their own working group that's helped develop them, and we're continuing to actually develop more as well.
Yeah, and I was actually one of the people that helped create some of the videos, so I'm very happy to see that it's ready now for users. So can you tell a little bit more then about, like, who was all involved in the creation of the videos? And, like you mentioned, there's 10 different areas. So can you talk a little bit more about what those areas are?
Sure. Yeah. Like, I can touch on each of the areas a little bit. Yeah, as far as, like, the creation and who is involved, like I said, like, I mean, we did involve experts from across the country. Like, one of the most important things about this process was to ensure that things were nationally reviewed and reviewed by experts, just to make sure we're getting the best quality of training possible. and making sure that there's some confidence behind what practices are actually demonstrated in the training. So there's that. But when I look at like the number of people involved in this whole process, like we must be nearing close to 200 people from across the country that were involved in developing all the training we have. And so some of the areas that we cover, like I mentioned, biosecurity, kind of preparing pigs for transport. We have like husbandry practices involved in there, for say like nursery or grow finish barns, sow barns. We have modules on group sow housing. We have stuff on euthanasia. Trying to think the other areas like general barn tasks, like how to manage a feed mill. We got stuff on that. We cover quite a bit. Like there's 86 training modules that if you went through and did it all, you're probably looking at 12 hours of training, and each one of those modules is say somewhere in the range of, 3 to 15 minutes, depending on the topic. But it kind of gives you a sense of like how much is available there. I'm really proud of how we transformed even just the videos into training modules with like all the language abilities that we have there and the kind of interactive quiz questions we have too. So
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about the languages?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the things we did is we did like a little bit of an assessment as to the different kind of first languages we have across the country that are, people that are involved in the Canadian swine sector. So obviously, like our official languages, French and English, are covered. But we also recognize that, we have a strong Filipino contingent, especially in Western Canada. So Tagalog was important to include. We have a very strong Spanish contingent across the country, and we also have a large Ukrainian contingent across the country. And so we developed these training modules with subtitles in those other languages as well, to make sure that we want to make this training as accessible as possible to the workforce that's in the Canadian swine sector.
And that's so important because sometimes we do have some issues with languages and understanding. So having the videos with the different subtitles makes a huge difference.
And I know a number of people as we've been showing the platform at events and stuff we have coming up. I've been very happy to kind of see the stuff in their language too. Like I think it's a point of pride and confidence and stuff too. So it's really good to see that.
Definitely. Okay, so what can producers do to get involved with this?
Yeah, the main thing is, we just launched the platform, so it's ready for people to get in there and get registered. So the best thing to do is actually talk to your provincial pork organization. They can provide you more information about the platform and the learning that's available on there. They can also kind of register you as either register you as a company if that's what you want to kind of manage your own learners on the platform, or they can, register you as an individual producer that just wants access to, the 86 plus in coming years or whatever training modules we have available. And so the best thing to do is call your provincial pork organization.
Okay, excellent. So what about like when you're going through the videos, like what does that look like, that process?
Yeah, we have basically the PigLEARN. It's called PigLEARN, but a PigLEARN student portal that people can go into, which is at piglearn.ca or porksavoir.ca. And they can go into that, and then they can see that the training they have accessible to them based on what their training administrator gave them access to. And so go into a training module or whatever. And what we've done is, we will have a video in that training module. But it's what we've done is we've actually interjected interactive quiz questions kind of partway through the video. And so you might watch a couple minutes of video and then have to answer a couple interactive like knowledge checks sort of things, and then watch another couple minutes of video and then another couple knowledge checks as you go through. And what we've done is we wanted to make sure that those knowledge checks were really interactive and visual. And so we didn't want to just leave it to just say multiple choice text or something, what we're typically used to kind of doing. So we have 5 different visual templates for doing those kind of knowledge checks. And so, as an example, one of them might say, "Hey, where on this pig's ear do you would you want to place an ear tag?" And so you actually have to click on the image to say, like, this is where I'd place the ear tag, and then you'll get some feedback, I guess, as to that placement. And all of the video and all those knowledge checks, like I said, are available with subtitles in those 3 other languages I mentioned too. So. And then at the end, you get feedback to say, like, how many answers out of those knowledge checks you got correct. You get star points for doing that, and then those star points actually accumulate and stuff too, so that, like, when you look back, you can say, "Hey, I've done this well on these modules," and everything like that. And if you want, you can also compete in leaderboards, either within your company or your province or Canada wide, to show how well you're doing at training.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a competitive part to it.
Yeah, healthy competition, we call it.
Yeah. That's nice. I didn't realize that. So would you say most of the videos are geared towards, like, technicians, or is it more the managers at the barn? Like, can you talk a little bit about who is targeted for these?
Yeah, I would say that they are primarily targeted at technicians. That being said, I could say that, there's probably a dozen of the 86 or so. I haven't looked at the numbers exactly, that are kind of more targeted towards, like, maybe the manager or like the owner or producer, potentially, but a lot targeted to those technicians. And so I could see these being very beneficial in your onboarding process for people you're bringing in. But I think, based on the fact that we developed a lot of this with experts from across the country, I think there's still stuff to be gleaned as well if you've worked in the barn a while as well. So I think it's kind of worth it for everyone to kind of take a look at them.
Yeah, like, I would agree, because I remember when I was helping develop some of these materials, that we had some interesting discussions in the working group on how to do specific things, and there were some different views on it. And sometimes it's like just little details that people were saying, like, no, actually it should be like this or that. So I think I agree with you that there's something in there for people that have been working in the barn for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, I think about it like when we do, say, swine seminars, or like, those sort of educational sessions for producers. Like, even the most seasoned producers, when we go and sit through a presentation, usually say to me, like, they picked up 1 or 2 points or something they hadn't thought about before, or something that they might consider implementing in their farm. And I think the same is going to be able to be said about these training modules. I think you'll be able to pick it up at least 1 or 2 points, even if you're a very experienced stock person or producer, from each of the training modules. So I'd highly recommend taking a look.
Yeah, perfect. So can you talk a little bit about the pricing of this the PigLEARN system for farmers?
Yeah, so I guess the important thing to say about, like, PigLearn training platform is that we want to make sure that we can not only, like, maintain the platform into future years indefinitely, but we want to improve upon it too, and add more training to it. Like, as an example, right now we're working on some training on pig handling. We're also going to be working on some stuff to do with worker safety. And so we want to make sure we can keep that going forward. And so we've had to look at how we would price this to make sure that we could maintain that, while also not overcharging anyone. Right. So we're trying to run this at cost neutral, basically, like a not-for-profit sort of platform. And so we've priced it accordingly to that. And so generally, like, we've, just because we've just launched, we have a promotion, like a promotional offer for the first period until the end of June, for users to get in there. So it would be that would be $75 per person for a 24-month subscription. Now, the base subscription too, if you just wanted to sign up for 12 months, would be a $50 subscription cost per person. And then there's other options for companies as well if they want to kind of host their own training, but not necessarily use the CPC or the PigLearn catalog of the 86 training modules. So there is the ability to host your own training. So anyways, there's other pricing potentially for that, but the main ones are $75 right away for kind of a 2-year subscription, or $50 for a 1-year subscription.
Okay, well, that's a pretty good deal considering how much information you're getting.
I think so. I mean, when you compare it to other trainings that you might actually go to, or, if you went to do a college or university course or anything like that, I think it's a steal of a deal, to be honest. But I hope other people think so too.
Yeah, or even compared to a conference, right? Which is often a couple $100 per person for a few days.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about when it comes to the PigLEARN platform?
I just want to say with the PigLEARN platform, like, we're really excited about the facts that it's launched. I am happy and excited to share more information with pork producers and all the technicians out there. Like I said before, the best thing to do is get in contact with your provincial pork organization, and they can provide you more information and can even get you registered. So for the companies and other pork producers and technicians out there, give your provincial pork organization a call.
It's time for our famous 3.
Okay, so we have 3 final questions left. So are you ready for them?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So the first one, what is your favorite swine-related book or resource? And it can be anything, really.
As far as my favorite swine-related book or resource, I lean so heavily on the network of people that I know through the swine sector. I feel like predominantly my role has been to connect people with other people. So, I'm not an expert in everything. I'm an expert in very few things. But I usually know someone that has some expertise in areas. So if people call me up, I'm happy to kind of connect them. And so I don't know if it's a bit of a cheesy answer, but I'd say like my main resource is just like the great network of people that we have in the swine sector.
I think that's a great answer, to be honest. Okay, so the next one is, what is your favorite book or resource outside of the swine industry?
Well, I end up, through work and stuff, I end up traveling a lot. And then I also love to travel in my own time on personal travel and stuff like that. And so a resource I lean pretty heavily on is actually Google Flights. I know that's kind of an interesting answer, but it gives you a quick overview of all the flight options you might have available. And then you can kind of dig further to look at specific things. But I use that quite a bit.
I've used it too. It's a very handy tool.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the last question is, in your opinion, what sets successful swine professionals apart from those that are not?
I think the big thing is listening and being open-minded, really. It's not just swine professionals. I think it's almost anyone in like a leadership or whatever sort of role is, the more open-minded you are to like other people's opinions and feedback and that sort of stuff, I think the more successful you're going to be. I think if you kind of hole yourself up and close your ears too much or whatever, you're not going to see the same level of success. And so I suggest to listen to the people around you, even though you might not agree with them all the time or whatever. There's always information to be gleaned there. And I think that'll make you a better person and a better leader and a better professional. So
I would definitely agree with that. Okay, so that concludes another episode of the Swine Canada podcast show presented by Wisenetics. So thanks everyone for joining us today. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review because your feedback is invaluable to us. So this is the end of this podcast show. I hope you'll join us for the next one. Until then.